Do you have the sense that you're eavesdropping on something? Well, we are, really. All during the year, these readings, however they were chosen for the particular Sundays of the year over the course of the year, of course of centuries, in the choice, we are the primary audience, those people who gather for Eucharist on the Lord's Day. But during Lent, the primary audience, the audience for whom these readings were chosen, is not us. It's the people preparing to be baptized at Easter time, the catechumens. These are all part of their final weeks of preparation before they become the followers of Christ through baptism. So in a sense, we are eavesdropping on something not directly, intentionally meant for us. On the second Sunday of Lent, the transfiguration of Jesus is always presented to the catechumens, and it's rather a mysterious presentation. So we have to go to the other readings to get the motif or the theme of what the church is trying to tell these people who want to be the disciples of Christ, who have felt called to be the disciples of Jesus. And I think the clue, the motif, is best summed up in the beginning of that second reading of Paul to Timothy. He says, "Join me in suffering for the gospel, but rely on the power of God. For he has already saved us, and now he is calling you catechumens, to become members of Christ by baptism." He's saying to them, or we, the church, is saying to these people, if you accept Christ, if you are baptized, it's going to hurt. It's not going to be easy after that. But don't worry, because you will be strengthened to endure by the power of God, just as Paul was and just as Jesus himself was. Because the Christian life, if lived consciously, deliberately, and fully, is going to put us at odds with the ideas of many people in the world, many isms in the world, many things that are going on in the world. We're going to be countercultural, as they say. And if we don't experience some kind of countercultural reaction to the way we live, we really need Lent, I think, to pause and look at ourselves and say, you know, am I really living up to the baptismal life that has been given to me? In the first reading, God gave Abraham a new beginning, which is exactly what baptism is, a new beginning. And all Abraham needed to do was to say yes to God's call. And as old man as he was, you'd think he would be getting his pre-plans made with the undertaker. He was off on a new venture, which is what the Christian life is. It's a new venture, a new way of journeying back to God. And God sustained Abraham, as we know, through all of the rest of the book of Genesis. But like Peter in the Transfiguration event, this is just mind-boggling what they were witnessing, but he's so preoccupied with his own ideas, with his own, perhaps, safety and security. Who knows? It's not spelled out. But he wants to make a couple of tents there so this nice event, keeps going. He likes it up there. No grief. Nobody's bothering him. They're all alone with Jesus. They're having this otherworldly experience. Let's keep this going. I'll build a tent for each one of you. We're like that in many ways too. We have a certain way of living the life of Christ, a certain way of being a Christian that mostly we have devised for ourselves, and we need to be brought up short by somebody saying to us, listen. And so on the second Sunday of Lent, as we eavesdrop on the readings for the catechumens, we are being told to listen. You might not be doing it exactly the way I want it done. Because God's way is the only way. For Abraham, for Paul, for Timothy, for the apostles with Jesus, they had to be brought up sharply, because Jesus had, just before this, Jesus had said to them for the first time, I am going to be killed. And of course, they didn't want to hear any of that because they had other plans. He's going to become the king of Israel, and we're going to be his first people in the kingdom. Life in Christ never works out the way we wish it will. And most of us are old enough to know that. It never works out as we thought it would, as we wanted to. So don't be surprised, don't be discouraged by the fact that it isn't working out like we want it to, because God will give us all we need in Christ to continue the journey. And that's the message for the already baptized during the second Sunday of Lent. Don't forget the episode on the mountain, that wonderful visionary experience by these three disciples in a few weeks or a few months was followed by the episode in the garden with Jesus and the same three disciples. And that was not a good experience by our standards. But we are not achieving God's plan for us. He is achieving it in us, sometimes despite us. So perhaps the message for the second Sunday of Lent for the baptized is, relax. Let God take over.